First tonight, a win that's going to be talked about for some time. The final seconds now from Dayton's wild comeback over Nevada.
Rebound Coleman, back, Blackshear, it's not his game, and it won't go. And the Dayton Flyers pull off the second half comeback.
They call it madness for a reason.
Yeah.
63-60 the final. Dayton's first NCAA tournament win since 2015. Video posted to the Flyers social media team, by the social media team. What a celebration.
Yeah, Kobe Brea had the honor of updating the bracket. Dayton moving on to the second round. They'll take on Arizona. And Kobe Brea had 5 3-pointers. He's still the national leader in three-point percentage. And the Flyers needed every single one of those 3-pointers tonight.
When you talk about Anthony Grant, too.
Yes.
First NCAA win as a coach.
With the Flyers.
With the Flyers.
Yeah.
Obviously VCU, but this is a big moment for him.
A big moment for him. He was part of that team that made it all the way to the Elite Eight in 1984. It was just a freshman. He had just arrived from Miami, and now he's finally an NCAA tournament game-winning coach with his alma mater, University of Dayton.
All right, so we got highlights from this game coming your way in just a few minutes in sports. Elise?
It has now been exactly 1 week since multiple tornadoes touched down across the state of Ohio. In fact, Governor Mike DeWine asked the federal government just today for damage assessments of the 11 counties affected. On Sunday, he then declared a state of emergency in those counties, including Logan, Mercer, Darke, and Miami. 6 FEMA damage assessment teams will be heading out on Tuesday to inspect the damage there and determine whether federal resources will be made available. Also tonight, relief efforts continuing in the Indian Lake area of Logan County. That EF3 tornado devastated the community, killing 3 people and leaving hundreds without a roof over their head. Since then, that community has been scrambling to pick up the pieces. But tonight, they took a pause and came together for a benefit concert to remind one another just how strong they really are. And in the last 15 minutes, we've just learned they have raised more than $50,000. That's incredible. Gwyneth Falloon was there and shows us how this area is now banding together in tough times.
It has now been a week since an EF3 tornado ripped through parts of Logan County, leaving homes, businesses, and lives in ruins behind. But tonight, this remarkable community is focusing on the good that shines through even on the darkest of days.
We want to raise a lot of money and just have a great time and celebrate our community. Are you ready to do that?
Hundreds finding something to be thankful for Thursday.
I grew up here, so my family's all here. It's farm country, so there's it's just a tight-knit community. We want to make sure that everyone's taken care of and whole.
Logan County means a lot to Greg Titus, who wasted no time in setting up Thursday's benefit concert for those impacted by the tornado.
If we can be an uplifting message with music and fun and all of that stuff, and just give the community a chance to just take their minds off of it for a second.
Nearly everyone in the Holland Theater has been touched by the tornado.
A family friend of ours, he has a mechanic shop up at the lake. It's his own barn or whatever, and his barn got hit and flattened, and then we had just a lot of other family and friends up around the lake area who've been impacted, and just as a community as a whole, it's just a hard hit.
Tucker Munns hopes to be a message of hope for the Indian Lake community through music.
In the dark times, there's always going to be some light that comes with it, and just at the end of the day, all you can do is help out and just be a decent person.
For others, they're just grateful they can help out.
It's pretty heartbreaking. We were down there yesterday and feeding the people down and around the lake, and to see the devastation of that lake area is just unbelievable.
Food truck owner Denny Miller spent his day Wednesday offering free hot meals to those who need them most.
Those people were just so grateful they were just thanked us and said what a great job we were doing, and thankful that we were down there helping them out. They were just very grateful to everybody that helped them out.
For those of you at home wondering how you can help, I have linked all of that information in the web version of this story at Dayton247now.com. Back to you.
And again, there's also another way you can help. Dayton 24/7 Now, we've teamed up with the American Red Cross and iHeartRadio to help those impacted by the tornadoes. To lend a hand, scan that QR code you see there on your screen. That supports the American Red Cross Disaster Relief Fund. And as Gwen mentioned, you can find the link at Dayton247now.com.
So let's talk about weather. Not a severe week, thankfully, this week compared to last week. It is a little bit cooler this week, but might be warming up.
Yeah, warming up a little. Rain will arrive with it, though. So I
right.
guess take the good with the bad.
It is spring.
Yeah, it is spring. Spring showers in the forecast, but it's not going to be as bitterly cold, especially this morning. We got to 21 degrees. Here's a look at what's going on right now. 33 in Dayton. We got 29 Springfield, 32 Troy, 29 in Bellefontaine. So it is chilly out there. Satellite and radar showing mostly clear skies out there right now, but we do have our next weather maker already starting to make its way in. So warm front will lift its way in. Now, I did drop our high temperature a little bit tomorrow, back in the mid 50s. It's going to be dependent on how far northward that warm front makes, as well as when we see the rain begin to make its way in. But right now it looks like afternoon showers in the forecast, so you may want to pack that umbrella with you, with temperatures in the 50s by the afternoon.
A Xenia postal worker now behind bars tonight for allegedly stealing mail. Now, Jenny Borg live in the studio. So Jenny, what can you tell us about the investigation?
Yeah, Elise, well, I can tell you that this investigation is ongoing, but Xenia police do have enough to hold 23-year-old THU Hill. Police aren't releasing many details at this time, but I'll break down what we know so far.
The Xenia Police Department has been looking into the local post office since the beginning of this year.
Both the Xenia Police Division and the Greene County Sheriff's Office received theft complaints where people were not receiving their mail.
Multiple people made complaints. As investigators looked into these complaints, evidence pointed them in a specific direction.
So the investigation led us to the Xenia branch of the U.S. Post Office, and that also led us to an employee that worked at that branch. And that employee was THU Hill.
Xenia Police Sergeant Miller says Hill allegedly stole credit cards out of P.O. boxes and used them. It's unclear at this time if she was stealing mail normally delivered to people's homes.
So a probable cause warrant was issued for THU Hill for receiving stolen property and identity theft, and she has been arrested on that warrant.
23-year-old Hill was arrested on March 12th. 8 charges are pending against her, including forgery, tampering with records, plus receiving stolen property and identity fraud, as Miller mentioned. 5 of the pending charges are 5th-degree felonies. Miller says this type of crime is not common in Xenia.
Before this investigation, the Xenia Police Division has not received any other internal theft investigations or complaints. We will occasionally get a complaint where somebody has not received their mail, but those are so sparse that generally it doesn't lead to much.
I asked the manager at the post office for a comment, but was told they couldn't say anything at this time. The prosecutor's office is reviewing the case. If you have any information, you're asked to call Xenia Police at 937-372-9901. Back to you.
Jenny, thanks. A trial date has now been set for the man accused of shooting and killing a man outside Napoleon's nightclub in Jefferson Township back in January. 25-year-old Shaking Jones was in court today. He's facing charges of murder, felonious assault, and having weapons under disability, as well as separate drug charges. Now, his trial date has been set for April 11th.
It's been almost 50 years since a deadly EF5 tornado touched down in Xenia, killing 32 people. Tonight, we're going to take a sneak peek of a special featuring the story of survivors.
And the DOJ now suing Apple, alleging it illegally monopolizes the smartphone market. Well, critics are accusing the tech company of deliberately doing to their own products.
Plus, I'm tracking showers making their way in for our Friday. I'll have the rest of our weekend forecast too coming up. Here's a live look from our Eco Plumber Skycam. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
On April 3rd, 1974, an F5 tornado with wind speeds reaching more than 250 miles per hour hit the city of Xenia. By the time it was over, half of that city was gone. 32 people were killed, more than 1,000 were hurt. Next Wednesday, we're airing a 30-minute in-depth look at that devastating event. We speak with survivors along with local and national weather experts. In the process, we explain how, despite immense tragedy, this event also helped lead to a greater understanding of tornadoes and how to better save lives. Tonight, we're sharing the story of one survivor we spoke with who is moments away from a potentially much different fate.
This is the trophy area where we came out.
Some memories can fade, but the end of Maureen Clark's senior year at Xenia High School is a time she will never forget.
And by about 1:30, 2 o'clock, I can remember we were all outside changing classes with the outside sidewalks that would be available. The sun was shining, it was a beautiful afternoon. And so, and then those other storms came, and boy, did things change then.
It was April 3rd, 1974. Clark was staying after school for musical practice. It was around 4:30 in the afternoon.
All of a sudden, this young lady, Ruth Benuti, I have to say her name, she was a band member and she knew that she had friends in the high school who were practicing for the musical, and she and her mom were in the car coming home from errands and they saw the tornado.
Leaving the high school auditorium, Clark and her classmates looked outside.
The tornado was either hitting Detroit Street at that time or Shawnee Park, which was right across the street. It was such a frightening moment for me that I can honestly say I cannot remember what I saw. All I knew was fear.
An F5 tornado with 250-mile-per-hour winds was bearing down on the high school. It had already cut an unfathomable path through Xenia. Clark and others found a hallway and waited.
Some of us were praying, some of them were really angry and screaming and afraid, and then all of a sudden it hit. And then came just everything broke at that point, I think. And glass was flying and shards of whatever hit us in the arms, and as the wind came with that, those shards of building, we were pushed together like an accordion, and it just lifted us a little bit off the floor, and we were all just kind of scrunched together and then dropped back down to the floor.
She and others inside the school somehow survived. They found their way out, and what they saw was surreal.
There was no second story left to the main part of the building at all. That was our ceiling. And so thankfully it didn't take more because we were underneath that part.
She would later find out buses that were parked outside the school had been thrown onto the stage in the auditorium, a stage she and her classmates were on minutes before.
I do know God was with us, we were protected, and we didn't die in that auditorium.
Now, this is just part of Clark's story and what we will be sharing next week during our 30-minute full-length special. You can join us, please, Wednesday, March 27th at 7 p.m. right here on ABC 22 for the day the clock stopped, the 1974 Xenia tornado.
Let's give you a live look now from our Eco Plumber Skycam and send it over to Chief Meteorologist Natalie Walters.
Well, chilly weather across the area today, a little warmer tomorrow, and rain is on the way tomorrow too. So this is our next weather maker, which will be a low pressure system entering the region for tomorrow, bringing rain showers for the second half of the day. So satellite and radar showing things quiet right now. We're calm and cold. We got a warm front that will lift its way in, moisture making its way in as well. That will bring up those rain chances heading into the day tomorrow, mainly after lunchtime, around 2 or 3 p.m. I think we'll start to see a few showers, and not until the evening that rain will become a little bit more widespread. So we're going to start out the day in the 20s, and then by the afternoon, we get up into the 50s. Now, I did drop our high a little bit. I think we'll be a little warmer to the south. This is keeping us pretty cool. It will all be dependent on the cloud cover as well as how early we get these showers to make their way in. But I'm thinking 50s before we drop back into the 40s with scattered showers for that Friday evening. But that'll be out by early Saturday. We start out Saturday cold and cloudy. Saturday afternoon, more sunshine, temperatures in the 40s. Heading into our Sunday time frame, we start out in the 20s, but we do start to see things warm up By Sunday afternoon, I think we'll be closer to 50 degrees. So rain with this system, potentially around 1/4 of an inch or so across the area, maybe some locally higher amounts expected with this, but really just a light to moderate rain with that weekend forecast showing quieter weather once that rain moves out. So 40s and sunshine for our Saturday, right around 50 for our Sunday afternoon.
Dozens of area nonprofits, healthcare providers, and even law enforcement met in downtown Dayton to learn more about human trafficking and how we can stop it in our community. Lydia Bice attended the CareSource Human Trafficking Summit and shares what steps they're now taking.
We heard a lot of compelling stories from human trafficking survivors this morning, and those stories were from right here in our state.
I was actually trafficked as a teenager in Michigan while I went to high school, and was blackmailed by some guys, was targeted, drugged and raped, and then made to earn back some pictures.
Teresa Flores now dedicates her life to rescuing children who are victims of human trafficking, and that's why she attended CareSource's Human Trafficking Summit this morning, where therapists, first responders, healthcare providers, local nonprofits, and numerous others could learn how to combat this issue in our community. Members of the Dayton Police Department were in attendance, learning how to provide aid to those victims in our community.
When we have a victim, we're dealing with the criminal aspect of that crime. So we have the victim who needs a lot of services, a lot of support, a lot of love.
Now, in the web version of this story on Dayton247now.com, I've linked the websites to several different local nonprofits who assist human trafficking victims. In that story, I've also linked the National Human Trafficking Hotline number. Back to you.
Well, the U.S. Department of Justice is now filing a lawsuit against Apple tonight for allegedly using its power in the smartphone market to beat competitors. The long-anticipated lawsuit comes after years of allegations by critics. Now, they argue Apple purposely limits functions of its iPhones to make competitors look inferior, thus driving more users to Apple products. Attorney General Merrick Garland explains how that happens in texts.
Conversation is not encrypted. Videos are pixelated and grainy, and users cannot edit messages or see typing indicators. As a result, iPhone users perceive rival smartphones as being lower quality because the experience of messaging friends and family who do not own iPhones is worse, even though Apple is the one responsible.
16 states are joining in on the legal action.
New exhibit showcasing the sea creatures that live in the Ring of Fire opens tomorrow at the Newport Aquarium. The new animals and ways to see them right after this.
You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
Today marks 111 years since the Great Dayton Flood of 1913. This day, more than a century ago, heavy rains began. Waters reached 20 feet, rushing to 25 miles per hour into downtown Dayton. The Great Miami swelled to more than a mile wide. More than 4 trillion gallons of water killed 360 people and 1,400 horses, destroyed 20,000 homes, and displaced 65,000 people. It's one of the worst natural disasters in history to hit the state. There's an exhibit at Carillon Historical Park detailing the stories of perseverance and heroism through numerous flood-related artifacts. That museum open every day. You can go to DaytonHistory.org to learn more about it.
Well, there's a new exhibit opening tomorrow at the Newport Aquarium. It's called The Ring of Fire, World of the Octopus. It showcases new animals, a brand new floor-to-ceiling viewing tank for their in-house octopus, plus 7 different displays featuring volcanoes and deep ocean trench creatures.
This is an exhibit that is pretty revolutionary because it actually brings animals that people wouldn't normally be able to see into the aquarium. So they actually can become face-to-face with these animals that they otherwise would never actually see in the wild.
Now, the exhibit has been in the works for more than a year, and it is finally ready for the public.
Children who have access to books are more successful in school and beyond, and that is why we're partnering with Reading is Fundamental and our parent company, Sinclair Broadcast Group, for Sinclair Cares, supporting children's literacy. Scan this QR code to join our virtual book drive, just $4. You can put a new book into the hands of a child. Please donate today.
And to look back at Dayton's rally to edge Nevada, the Flyers' first NCAA tournament win since 2015. I'll have more after the break. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.